every time I watch The Bear, I wish I could cook. I wish I could cook, and I wish I was good at cooking, and I wish that like I could make the meals that they make. I think the bear puts you exactly in a hungry mood, and then secondly, it reminds you of the beauty of well, the beauty of like family or the idea of also creating something and the idea of also creating meals and creating them for other people, right? Especially even I guess in this season, when they do the snow thing, right? See, this is what I mean. I always do that. When I'm not trying to spoil too much, we do little here's and there's, little touch on areas. But it's just like the snow thing, and it was like they did that for somebody, I mean, for the family in specific, to make their experience more worthwhile. And I guess that's all what it means to run a restaurant and to work in a restaurant and like be a part of a team and to like pull together different aspects of that team, and you all need to pull your specific weight. Do you know what I mean? And every single person in the bear team as well plays their role. I mean, you have Marcus, who obviously does desserts. You have Tina, who do you know of Tina? Do you know what I mean? I can't really actually say her plays all that well, but I feel like Tina's still again, like I'm talking about, to do with the fact of a restaurant is that everyone does play their role and everyone is a part of the glue. And if one person wasn't involved, then a lot of it would fall apart. So I guess Tina also ties in as well. And then of course you have Carmen, right? But he's basically at the top of the period, and you have Richie, who's like the side, and then also again Natalie, so Natalie Sugar, who's obviously again his main two as well. They kind of, but then and then I guess, and then you also have Sydney, and Sydney's also his. I would say it's those like it's Natalie, Richie, and Sugar. I mean, and Sydney, sorry, who are basically his number threes, his delegates. Yes, his delegates, because I guess they can also like exactly do the big shots, and they can also help him with some of the load if necessary. I wanted to do this episode because I was thinking about how I was thinking of the phrase, if it's too hot, get out the kitchen, right? And I was like, in the bear, there's no even any say of doing that. Do you know what I mean? You can't actually get out of the kitchen. Only in a way of how Carmen, right? How we all know Carmen got himself stuck in the freezer, right? And although he didn't mean to get stuck in there, he like you know what I mean? He wanted to be in there because he needed a moment to himself, basically. And it was the only time he could have to himself. And he exploded. Do you know what I mean? Like, he exploded, but he needed the explosion because there was so much that he was grappling with. Do you know what I mean? I think he's obviously the whole time, as we know in the entirety of the show, he's been grappling with the grief of his brother and taking on the restaurant, and and the restaurant hasn't even been doing well, and then it's been doing well on and off also in a weird way. It feels like in the entirety of all the season, because there's obviously the previous one was season 4, and I think obviously yeah, the final one, I believe. Also, to rewind, actually, my bad, that the bear is not finished, but it's going to continue, which is surprising because I thought maybe they would want to tie it in 4, which I don't know why, but I feel like for the bear, it, tie in 4 would be a nice, neat way to do it. I guess I will definitely be able to say more when I finish this season. This is me. This is me reviewing it while not finished, right? But obviously, it's like I will be intrigued to see, like how they will go on to do a season 5 actually, and what a season 5 will be. And which is very interesting because I guess the thing is, I feel like with the show is you want them to be able to be at a place where the restaurant is actually doing well, everyone is doing well, basically, because they're always, a lot of them in the team, like, they always have the restaurant's their main obstacle, right? But then they always, a lot of them, they all have all these other things going on, and they have a lot of like other life issues that also topple on them, right? So they have their life, and then they have the restaurant, but then their restaurant is the main thing. I mean, it's their main income, and then also probably main passion. So it's the thing that they basically they think about all the time, sorry. And it's just like, yeah, you would hope that in season 5, the potential of it anyway, that they will finally be at a place where the bear is doing well, and where, you know, it actually has good reviews instead of bad. But anyways, actually, circling back to, remember the phrase about the kitchen thing, right? It's just like, I think to myself, when Sydney first got to the bear, she realized how chaotic it was, and how it was like, how could anyone work there, like in such a toxic environment? And it's like, yeah, if it's too hot, get out of the kitchen is not even a thing there, because it's like you literally have to continue being there even when the going gets tough. So it's just like, you know what I mean? That's why that phrase for me, I'm like, that's what I meant. In this, it doesn't even hold weight. And I was like, throw that phrase out of the window. Like, these are all suffering with so much different stuff, and still they continue to show up. Specifically, that's what I mean. Even Carmen, like, they joke about Carmen being locked in the refrigerator, but that guy was stressed. Do you know what I mean? Richie picks on him for getting himself locked in there, but he was stressed. You see, and he exploded, and then he exploded out on everybody, and then, you know, Claire overheard him talking about her, and then he was obviously arguing with Richie, and then obviously I felt like, I guess when he looked in the refrigerator, I think he let a lot of people down as well. I think obviously he let Sydney down in particular as well. He lets her down quite a lot anyways. Like, they are a team, but it's like they're not a great team, and they try to be better, but it's like they have a lot of, for two people who are like, I don't know, the front runners of a potential business, they don't work the best, I feel. And I understand Sydney's, obviously, yes, when we see Sydney grappling with wanting to leave, I see her doubts, because it's like, she came into this place, and although it can be overwhelming, although it can be tough, she's like, there's people here who she has grown to, like, you know, she's trying to create something with them, and even though it's tough, she wants to keep going. And I think that's why sometimes you never, and I feel like maybe in this aspect, you never want it to be too smooth sailing. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I don't know, sometimes people do like the struggle. I think that sounds weird, but here with me on this. People like the struggle in creating. Do you know what I mean? Because they want the outcome to also be worth it. Do you know what I mean? So they enjoy feeling like they have to fight, and they will fight for it because it's important. And I think that's her thing too, because, you know, she could leave and she could go on to be in that new place where that guy is building up some new restaurant, and she could do that. She could hire new people, but it's like, she would be starting afresh. To maybe she would feel maybe she could go back to square one. You never know. She could start afresh but end up at the same exact place. So it's almost like, why do that? And then also she's like, probably, exactly. And then what if it's not that? What if she does start somewhere and it's like, then it's too easy, then it's too smooth sailing, and it's too quiet. And I think maybe it's like, she maybe doesn't want that, because it's not her normal, it's not what she's used to. So I think it's like, when you have a habit of something, it's hard to break out of it. That's probably why she's stuck in this wanting to remain at the bear, and wanting to be in the chaos. It's weird, because she finds it hard to be there, but she's also enjoying working in it. Because I feel like with Sydney's place in the team, she's got people like Tina and Marcus, I feel, aside from Carmen. Like, he's somebody I feel like obviously he disappoints her a lot, which I think that was her main thing of wanting to leave. Her main thing of wanting to leave was because Carmen um was letting her down and disappointing her. So she felt like, oh, maybe I need to go. And she was like, oh, maybe I need to go into a place where I can be um praised, or like, or I can be appreciated more. Even though I feel like a lot of them do appreciate each other there, even though, like, it's weird because when you think about, I don't know, toxic workplaces, and you think about the fact that like the bear gets like that, of course, right? But they all love each other. Like, you can actually tell that they all love each other, and I think that's why I think it morphs into anger. And that's not to say, oh my God, like, what I mean, people will shout at each other like to when, I don't know, when in love with each other or whatever, and that anger is the reason or it should be used. But I just feel like, you get aggressive when you're passionate. Sorry, you get aggressive, basically. Of course, I mean, you kind of just like, it just comes out as aggression. They're supposed to be shown as love. I think that's also like in the show, I feel like that's also how Kami and Richie's relationship is. A lot of the time it's them arguing with each other, but it's like they do love one another. They just don't really know how to show it that well, and they don't really know also how to um they don't know how to put it in words. And then I feel like because it's basically insults, they don't know how to uh say warm things to one another. And they are the main two anyways, I feel, that argue with each other the most in that restaurant anyways. Like, I just feel like whenever they start arguing, I feel like the fire just grows bigger, basically. I guess an argument between them starts off small and then it just gets bigger. And then I guess another argument that is obviously quite popular in the bear history is obviously the I think, was it either Christmas or Thanksgiving, but the Mikey one, right? Of course, it's like when they're all at the table, and then obviously he flicks the fork, and we're like, why did you do that? But he just rose to the occasion. And I think that, well, a lot of them, or even what are they called? The Bizarros, I think. Yeah, because Kami Bizarro, and yeah, that's their last name. I think they all have a lot of like, you can tell they all have anger issues. And then obviously, like, I think, yes, you could tell that Mikey had anger issues, and obviously he had loads of other problems, which was why he didn't um which is basically weird. It's basically why he took his life. Even though the thing about Mikey, which is like, it's something that I feel like they've obviously been touching on here and there, but it's like, what was his reasoning in really taking his own life? When you see him in flashbacks, it's like, I know that, or we know that, I guess all of us know that depression is a invisible illness, and that you can't really see it. And then that's what I mean with Mikey. I think that they all didn't think that he was going to take his life, and it was just a very sudden thing. And it feels sudden, I guess, just, I meant in general in the show. I mean, because of course, when you start the show out, um, yeah, when you start the show out, they obviously just explain that, yeah, Mikey's dead, and then they talk about how, Carmi takes on the restaurant, and that, I mean, Mikey left it to him. And then it's just like, why did Mikey decide to do that? And it's like, I think for me, I'm just like, in the flashbacks, he seems quite happy. So it's like, it's a bit like, it's a bit confusing. But then I also think, as as somebody who could say, yes, we understand what mental illness looks like. I think it's like, oh, somebody can look happy, but really they're not happy at all. And I think that's obviously Mikey's whole thing. And it's like, I think, and it's just, I don't know. His suicide obviously impacted them all very much as well. I mean, I guess obviously Kami in specific because what he ended up like, yeah, I guess he ended up becoming an addict of some sort because then that's how he ended up at the what's it at those groups because obviously he went on a whole like spiral, which is so understandable. I mean, because his brother committed suicide, and it was obviously so um what's the word, I don't know, it was so graphic, I suppose, but I don't know, because the way that Mikey took his life story, I guess he said, like, I guess in the Kami story was that Mikey had took a gun and he shot himself in the head, and we were like, wow. And I think what's so good about The Bear is, I don't know, like, even with explaining a scene like that, they didn't make it like, I don't know, they didn't make it, I don't know, somber. It was like they did it. I remember when Comic was explaining when it was like that talk show scene, and he was basically kind of making it into a joke, kind of. But it was like, it was a joke, but then it was also like, I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to be like dark humor, I feel. And it was supposed to be us trying to understand Kami's feelings, basically. Just trying to, exactly, trying to understand Kami as a character. But he's a very complex character actually to wrap your head around in the first place. And it's like every time I watch the show, I just think I don't necessarily understand him, and I don't think that I ever really will, because of course I think for me I'm like Tick, he's been grieving. He's not great in a relationship, and that's we said that's granted, that's fine. And then what else could you say? He's also not. I want to say, is he not a great sibling? That all that much? And then I don't know. And then you think, is he really that good of a friend? Like, you know what I mean? Just on the basis of friend. Like, you think to yourself, if they was to really say what are Kami's factors, we just can't really say. Not too much on him though. I mean, he has to run a restaurant, so it's a bit like, and I feel like obviously we know with his origins and his story, you know, his thing with the guy with when he was working at that restaurant basically ruined his life. Because I feel like what's funny is because when I first was watching the show, I realized that because he was taught and trained in the way that he was, that he kind of became that person to, like, to the people that he was working with now. Like, I felt like he basically just became that person, which I guess that can happen, like a thing where you get conditioned in a way. So it's like you learn things, and then because you learn them, you then put them onto other people. And I think that's how he's able to uh lash out, or then turn into a bit of a, yeah, turn to a bit of a Gordon Ramsay, because it's like he immediately uses anger, even though, like, what we will say about Kami is, I feel like season 4, season 3, like, it's him getting better. He's trying to be in control of his emotions, and he's also trying to have constructive conversations, and trying to be an avid listener. Like, he's trying to actually be a functioning human being, basically. But I just do feel like we know that, like, I feel like a lot of his problems, yeah, stemmed from how he got into the, like, chef business. I guess if he wasn't taught in that way, then it would have been a whole different story, as well, I feel, because of course I think when you think about Kami, you think his two major things are obviously that he lost his brother, and then you think about the fact that he was, like, he was working in that restaurant and it was so much pressure. And I think, like, that's also, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, he mirrored that guy as well, because then there was so much pressure in his
own restaurant. Do you know what I mean? And it was like nobody could do a wrong thing. And it was just like, even though, whoa, wrong things happen at the Bear obviously all of the time. Like, especially when I remember in the earlier seasons, when Sydney would just drop things all the time. And it would be her absolute, like, breaking point because it would be like, oh, I dropped something. So the whole date is ruined. And I was like, I literally get it because I feel like that happens a lot for like a lot of us, even anyways, because it's just like you're trying to get by, and then one thing happens, and it's like, do you know what I mean? We might as well just, we might as well just hand in the towel. And now I kind of want to move on to talk about Sid and Kami. Um, why not? But the fact of the matter is even now in talking about the show, I started thinking, why is it that I do ship Sid and Kami, right? Sid Kami. I think is it Sid Kami? Yeah, Sid Kami is a ship name. And I'm just like, what is it about them? Do you know what I mean? It's also like, why would you ship them? Because I think I've written about it a lot of the time as well, and I'm like, they're super dysfunctional. So I'm like, what is it that is like the thing that it's just like, oh yeah, we want Sid and Carmi to be together. And then when I think to myself, when we look at the facts, right, the facts that are laid out to us is that we see how Carmi, like, yeah, he has so much on his plate, basically. That's obviously what I reflected before. I was like, oh, sure, I want Sid and Kami to be together. But then I was like, oh, Kami has too much on his plate. And I felt like there's no way that he could really, like, do you know what I mean? It didn't work with Claire. So I was like, how could it possibly work with Sydney? Like, it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? And I think I came to a conclusion that I was like, oh, the only way it can work is if Kami really, I don't know, if he has some kind of, it makes you feel like some kind of redemption arc, but if he really assesses his life and he kind of like, I don't know, I want to say, is it buck up his ideas or like he just kind of has a new pathway. And I think, like, of course, I think the first time that I shipped them, right, was obviously the when they were on the floor. When they were on the floor and Kami says, oh, I couldn't do this without you. And then Sydney's like, oh, you definitely could. And he's like, no, but I couldn't. And we're like, oh, that was it. That was the moment that I was like, why? So it's just like, I'm asking myself, but why? And I know that that was the moment, but it's also just like, sure, he can't do it without her, but like, as I was saying earlier, he's not a good teammate, right? And it's just like, for two people to work together in a team, both people have to um pull their weight. And I don't know, but people just has to be an equal thing though. That's what I also feel. And I don't know. It's weird. And I don't know exactly. I'm at a place where I don't know if I want them to be together anymore. Um, but it's like, of course, you think that that would happen because they're working in this restaurant together. Like, I think it was something I touched on as well. I think when I was what was it, when I was writing, I think one of my watches, and I was like, oh, I was like, surely they would go together because they're two people who are working in a restaurant, and it's like, in doing that, they're creating something beautiful. Like, it's like it's their child, but also not really, but it's a business and they're running it together, and we're like to ourselves, because they both know they can't do it without one another. It's like it's heading in that direction. But that's the only reason why, you know? That's actually the only reason why, and that's the only like part of the foundation. I don't think there's anything else that really um has us leading there. And then it's like, I don't know, like the fact of the matter is that exactly. Kami was with Claire when it's like he should have been with Sydney. And I think to myself, if Sydney like had feelings for him anyways, like in general, she 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 would have been upset this whole entire time because of him going off with Claire Bear. Do you know what I mean? Like when they call her Claire Bear, but yeah, we're going off with Claire Bear and being like, oh, Claire Bear is so awesome, and then you just have Sydney like, oh, okay. But then I'm saying she would be upset. So that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be fair on her, and then it would be like what would it be? Yeah, unrequited. And then we're like, no, nobody wants that. Unrequited is not good. And it's just like, I don't know, it's weird to be on a ship that it's like you don't see it progressing. You're on it, but you just actually don't know what the reasonings are. I'm sure, bro, I'm sure an avid um Sid Kami shipper could actually list reasons to me as to why they think that they think that they could work out. But then for me it's like no. It's also like I guess I'm not a loyal fan because it's like sometimes I doubt it because I'm just like what am I doing here? I'm like what am I doing here actually? And of course, yeah, I'm on no ship obviously then if not theirs because I'd never shipped him and Claire because it was like I mean, actually, oh, tell a lie. I did because I meant they do like, I mean, their relationship was good until it wasn't, basically. So I obviously was on their ship for a bit, but then, everything happened and it was like, then I, then I had to abandon ship. Even though that makes me not sound good because that's what I mean. I think if you do commit to a ship, you should like stay with it and I think it takes commitment. And you know what I mean? And if you're not being committed, then you're a fake fan, basically. Like I'm basically outing myself, but it's true. It's like you just should do better. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah.
But like I was saying about the fact that they work together, I think that is what makes their relationship so good. I don't know, like when you see yes, two people in a relationship, or well, they're on their way to it, but they're working together, and I think that's sometimes what adds something to it. We're like, oh, if you guys were just two random people on the street, maybe it wouldn't hit as hard as it does. Do you know what I mean? It's why I think of something like there's a lot of money to be made in the Wattpad stories of CEO versus staff girl in it. Like that is the storyline. Everybody knows it, and it works so well because it goes into the trope of office romance. So it's two people working in the same place. So that's what I'm talking about. Like it's also the same with Sid and Kami. Like they're working in a restaurant and they're around each other all the time, 24/7. So it's almost like you think to yourself, wow, imagine if they were together and like they were together and then they also ran the restaurant together. Like in a way you think, oh, would their relationship make or save them? Do you know what I mean? Like would it improve like what they're doing, or would it somehow make it worse? Even though obviously like in watching this the recent season, obviously yeah, Kami was like he's gonna leave the restaurant, but like it's so weird that he wants to leave. I mean, I know he's been through a lot, but I feel like even in that season he got to speak to the guy who messed him up, right? Basically, well, messed him up and put him on this journey, right? He spoke to that guy. I felt like he had closure from that scene. That is what I inferred from it anyways. It looked like he did. But then now obviously he's still in the place where he would like to leave. And I'm just like, come on, like you're leaving. Also, this is the thing actually for me with Carmen, actually. He's leaving before it gets a chance to like get good, like, or whatever, because they've been working on the bear for like obviously for a while, because obviously this is like the fourth season, and like obviously it hasn't been able to take off in the way that they want it to yet. Like they do have like some highs there, like when they even had the fact that what was it, I think Ibrahim's sandwiches were obviously getting good sales. So, and you know what I mean, that was what they were kind of focusing on in this season anyways. And so they were starting to obviously, I feel, make more progress than they have done before. Like, so I find that very weird. Like, as in, to jump on off a moving boat, like it's still, it's still in the works. And it's like, I think also what it made me think as well about Carmen is because that he has this, exactly, he does have this fight or flight mentality anyways, which is obviously even what I was talking about earlier with him being stuck in the cooler. Like he went in, like, of course he didn't want to get locked in there, but like I was saying, but he also needed to be in there, if that makes sense. Like, because he kept obviously letting up all his rage out on all his employees, but he wouldn't like have a meltdown himself, which he needed. Like he was away from everybody and he just needed that moment. But my whole thing is that I do feel like he is, that sometimes he likes to do this thing where, yes, he wants to give up. And I think I get it, because as I said earlier again, it's all linking to do with Mikey, it's to do with losing his brother, then going on the journey of becoming an alcoholic, ending up at alcohol's, ending up talking about it in front of in those groups. And then, do you know what I mean? Then he has to run a restaurant that isn't doing so hot, like a lot of the time. And I think like that just adds on to the problems that he already has, like it adds on. But I just think anyways, I mean, like maybe exactly, he probably shouldn't have even like, I don't even know, set on this path. I know he really obviously wanted, I think he's the one that told Mikey that they should do the idea in the first place when Mikey was even still alive. He said to Mikey, yes, let's run a restaurant. It'll be great. It'll be good. We said, yeah. But then now that you're in it, you don't want to do it anymore. We said, stay with it, because I think that's the beauty of what's the word? Beauty of a business. Like, you're working hard, even if it's not necessarily making you any revenue. Like, everyone else around you is happy, you see. Like, that's what I think when I also watch the show as well. Like, I think about the other employees around Carmen, and it's like, Tina's happy that she's able to make good time in just making a pasta. You know what I mean? Like, she's having, fun in the small trivial stuff in being a part of the team. But you're just like, oh yeah, it's a sinking ship. I need to get off. And plus pass the baton on to somebody else. Obviously, Sydney's like, no, you can't leave. I need you here. And he's like, well, I don't want to do it anymore. And then obviously that was a really great scene. Obviously in this season, it was like, obviously it was Carmen, Sid, and then also Richie. All three of them there, kind of having a little like, it was a freeway conversation. And so obviously they were just battling it out, and obviously just saying, like, it was funny how when Richie came in, when it was just Sid and Carmen at first, and then obviously Sid's just like, oh yeah, Carmen wants to leave the restaurant, and then Richie's like, what? And we're like, yeah, Carmen is going to leave. And then obviously then they start getting into it again, and it's just like, and then I suppose, then they just do all this, and they're like, well, of course he wants to leave, because exactly, that is also what I thought too in that moment. Like I've been saying, I thought classic Carmen, like not even to say, because this is what I mean, I'm saying I understand all of his problems, but I was like, classic Carmen for wanting to leave. Do you get it? Like, when the going gets tough, he wants to go. And then I think, remember when they were upset with him for not showing up to Mike's funeral, even though he did come, he just didn't present himself in front of everybody. And though, again, actually, that even tells you more again about who he is anyways, I feel. Like, I meant, even though he came to the funeral, I get it. That, again, lets us in on who Carmen is, because, like, he came to the funeral, but he didn't really say hello to anyone there. When it's like, everybody there needed you at that time. And I think that's why Richie obviously has such a resentment towards Carmen in the first place, because Richie's not what's it called? He's not a blood family member, but it's almost like he is. And then he's more immersed in the family than even Carmen is. When Carmen is a blood relative. We're like, come on. Like, you're actually supposed to be doing this stuff, like, like just free of charge, just because I suppose it's practically like your duty, or like, you know what I mean? Like, you are in the family, so you might as well be there. Do you know what I mean? I also really liked, like, obviously the mother's kind of coming back into their world, and that she's trying to get a grapple on her alcohol, and she's trying to, I guess, love her children and be there for them. She's obviously very, like, I feel like, yes, she really loves Carmen. I see it exactly, like, and I think obviously even Sugar sees that too. It's very much like favoritism in their family, because obviously, like, their mum's super hard on Sugar, but when it comes to like Carmen and like Mikey, she's like, we could see that anyway. So, and I suppose she was even like that when Sugar was in there in the hospital, and it's like, Sugar was like, bro, she was like, I've just given birth, like, what's going on, like, and she's just looking at her like drained. She's like, you're still being this way right now, like, do it another time. Like, I guess they kind of see their mum as a kind of like, I don't know, like, slippery slope / micro manager in a way. Yeah, in the way of just like, she's just always like doing too much. Plus also a liability, but I do feel like in this recent season you do see her, try to take like accountability, ownership, control, has to do all this stuff. I feel like I remember I said it earlier, I think I want to say that Carmen does the same thing in this season too, but then I suppose with him wanting to leave, like I was saying, it doesn't really feel like that all that much. Because obviously earlier I was having a rant about how he wants to give up on his business, and like, I would never be a quitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would generally do foot and nail if I had my very own business, and I would work the hardest, and I would make sure everyone else is okay. Like, and I just wouldn't necessarily, like, what's the word? Pass the baton, but like, it's like Carmen's he's not at retirement age. Like, it's not time for him to leave yet. So of course I would not think to even leave, because it's like, and especially when you can't leave a business when it's like you don't really feel like you've done enough for said business. Like, you want to be at the best possible place, and then you can leave it. Like, I feel like you want to at least say you've done a few achievements, then you can leave. Like, I feel like at the beginning of The Bear, I know that they wanted a good rating from the press, or they wanted like probably a Michelin star. They wanted all of these things, and they're still doing that now, but like, that's what they wanted. So I feel like I would not want to leave with the way that I haven't reached where I need to be. Like, that's the whole reason why people make businesses in the first place, because it's all about like building them up from the bottom up, and just like keep building on them, but not really like walking away when, do you know what I mean, when you feel like enough is enough. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I also wanted to talk about the Bear in general, because obviously Rob Reiner passed away the other day as well. Yeah, that's why I thought to myself, I'd had this episode like in the drafts for like a while, and then I was like, oh, Rob Reiner passed away, and I was like, that was where I was introduced to Rob Reiner. Like, I was introduced to Rob Reiner through The Bear, plus also obviously New Girl. I'd never seen him before, and I didn't know also that he was a director. Like, I didn't know obviously that he directed The Princess Bride and Stand By Me, and when Harry met Sally. Yeah, When Harry Met Sally. So I haven't seen all of those, and I think it feels weird because I wish I had known of him before. Because I guess when somebody dies, you feel like you feel like you want to now dive into their world. Like, it's like now that I know that he's passed, it's like now I want to watch his film. I mean, actually, I've seen Stand By Me. Absolutely, yeah, I've seen Stand By Me, but I don't think I've seen any of his others. Like, I've never watched When Harry Met Sally either. Like, I feel like When Harry Met Sally, like, even though it's a very I think it's a very mainstream, like, it's very popular. I mean, I've never really like gone to really seek it out. And I think, I don't know why, but it's always just appeared to me to be one of those, yeah, those like meat films. And it kind of gives me like, what's it, 50 First Dates vibes, and also, 50 First Dates vibes, and also something like 50 Days of Summer as well for some. No, 500 Days. 500 Days of Summer. It gives me something like that as well. I don't know why, but when I look at that film on its outside, I'm like, that's what it looks like to me. But maybe, this is what I'm saying, it feels weird to say that now that he's gone, maybe I should start to look at his works. I mean, above all, he seemed like a really great guy. Like, I thought that on New Girl, plus also The Bear. Like, I feel like most his characters are always quite comedic. So, and I feel like he brought that even in this recent season as well. And I guess I would say that, seeing as he's gone, I would say that it's a good thing he got to be a part of The Bear. I mean, before, yeah, just in general, that he didn't know that he was going to lose his life, but I mean that he got to be a part of something as great as The Bear, and to make all of these great movies. I just think that that's the best way, really, that you can look at when a person passes, just about the impact they make, more than the fact that they're not here. I mean, because that is the way that it can like soothe you. I mean, because everyone has said that it is a very disappointing, very disappointing like news and murder, and seeing as obviously he was killed by his son. Really, really, I wanted to talk about this show as a way to say, to send condolences to his family and everything, and just in general, I just wanted to say it, because obviously I was just like, he won't even be in the next season. And he was like, exactly, he was a new character as well, because he was obviously helping Ibrahim with the business, and he was helping them with the sandwiches and making sure that the business could continue to grow. And then, so it's a shame that he won't be in the next one. And I think maybe they'll probably make a tribute to him, most likely, because we know how The Bear is. And lots of shows, when somebody dies, does play tribute to them a lot of the time. They'll either put it at the end credits, or they'll either do an actual tribute in said show. To wrap up on the episode, I really just enjoyed seeing Will Poulter's character again. I feel like he was such a great addition to the cast as well. And of course that he's also helping with The Bear as well. Because obviously he was from a different restaurant. So obviously he's now come in to help them to get better. So I really like seeing his character in this. And I also like seeing yeah, like little developments with Marcus's character as well, because obviously he's not like, again, he's a part of the team, but he doesn't get really that much spotlight. But they've been obviously talking about how he has his issues with his family. And as always, I feel like although the bear has a lot of yeah, it has a lot of downs, it always still manages to balance it out as well in a very good way. If I had to pick one scene from the season, I think I would definitely pick when when they were all under the table at Richie's ex-wife's wedding. I did really like that scene because obviously they were all under the table and talking about what their fears were, and I thought that was really lovely. Just because, like, I just thought it was really lovely because I guess I guess that scene was just a way that you don't hear much adults talk about things that they fear, and they just wanted to try to relate to Richie's daughter and to also help her to come out from under the table. And I think also her fears were to do with the fact that she didn't want to feel like she was replacing Richie, like in the way that obviously her mum was getting married to somebody else. And so she just didn't want to make it, she was very, I guess, anxious in the way that obviously the marriage is happening and will everything change? And that's all normal, I think. And I definitely think it's normal for somebody, for a child, for when their parents divorce and a parent moves on. So I thought that was really powerful. And that's the thing about The Bear. I generally think that even though it's about food, like, it is a very like powerful and emotional show. And like, I just think that every time I watch it, like I feel like I feel smart. It's a type of show like that. Like, you watch it and you feel more intelligent somehow. It's like, it reminded me of that time when Mikey first when Mikey first met Tina, and obviously he was obviously having a heart to heart with her, and then obviously he said that she should join the restaurant. Well, that's how it happened, really. And I thought that was really lovely because obviously she wasn't having a good time then, and she used to come into the diner and she would just sit there and have something to eat. And I think he spoke about he talked about the beauty, I guess, of restaurants, which is every single thing, that's something I think of every time I watch the show. I mean, I think about how, having a meal by yourself, having a meal with others, like, there's something so, like, beautiful in that. And yeah, it's just a wonderful thing. And I think it's also wonderful in being able to have a meal and also, like, leave the meal satisfied, and also like tell the workers that they have done a good job as well, because that means a lot to them. Like, and we don't really think about it, really. Like, that's the thing, we go into restaurants and we're just like, it's just food, but we don't think about how, what was made when the food, like, what is made in the food, like, not even like the ingredients, but like the emotion that is made, that's put into them. And it's basically always from a place of love, really. And I guess, that's why I think I've also looked at it like, that's why I want to try going out like solo for meals, because it's like, I know that it's very nice to go out with others and like engage in a conversation with someone over a meal, like, that is great. But I think also it can be nice to go out by yourself and also have a meal, because it's a lot of like self-reflection, and we generally need that, like, like self-reflection with you and a meal, and you need it. And you also need the atmosphere of everyone else that surrounds you in that space as well. I think it's like how people say going to the cinema is like that as well, because you go to the cinema to watch films with like other people in order to like, have that experience with them and see how the film moves them, and how, exactly what human nature is, basically, like, and what it looks like. And we don't really pay attention to those things, really. And we also don't pay attention to like, we don't pay attention to noise or silence, or any of those things a lot of the time. And I think that's also like Bear showed me those stuff are really important. And I think also, I guess, out of like laziness, we think about how there is such a comfort in like just going out to eat just because you don't want to cook. Like, do you know what I mean? There's also there's that element. We think about how it's gorgeous that you can just go out somewhere to really eat somewhere, and then, you just get to have a great meal, and everything else. And then I guess I think it's always so important as well when you go to a restaurant is like the customer service and, what you're feeling. And I feel like I'd love to go to the Bear restaurant, bro. Although although it's like you can sometimes see that it's chaotic, like even in the show, you can see that. I do think they do really well, like whenever there's guests there, especially like kind of I was saying from when in the beginning that they obviously did that snow thing for that family. I thought that was really special because obviously that family hadn't seen snow before, so they created something for them, which I think is really special. And I think it reminds me of exactly when a restaurant knows that it's your birthday. Like, it's the small things that really matter because they know that it's your birthday and they bring you out a cake and then everyone sings to you. And I think that's really nice too. I've not really had that. I mean, I had that one time. I had that, I think, for, well, my birthday this year, I mean, where obviously everyone sang happy birthday and I had a little small cake slice. But, not even to sound like I'm ungrateful, I didn't like that. Only because it was like, it tasted like Guinness. I don't like Guinness. So that was it. I still thought the sentiment was lovely because I'd never really experienced that before. So that was really lovely. And that's why I guess, yeah, the Bear, like, I love restaurants, and I guess I can understand when you watch the show that like you come away feeling inspired. Like, I guess in a way that you'd be like, oh, I want to become a chef. I could see how somebody would come away with it like that. But I'm like, that's not me, because my talents lie elsewhere. It doesn't lie in the kitchen, even though I haven't done much cooking. But as I said, I know that doesn't lie in there. I know that it's not in there. But it's still like, I think I also try to I try to make my meals also special, just in the way that, and I think, well, I try to do that mainly in baking because I think baking is really lovely. So I suppose I try to, like, when you're making cookies or like, and you want to add sprinkles, and oh my gosh, and I love tasting my friends' foods as well. Like, honestly, like I can't even tell you how much. Like, I've had so many good moments of that, like this year in general, and I thought all of those moments were generally really special. Like, I really can't tell you how much. Like, I meant like being able to taste a cake that my friend has baked, or even like my friend's mac and cheese this year, which was like, I'm like, it was generally the best mac and cheese I've ever had in my whole life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a meal can just change your complete, like, it can change your entire life. So generally, guys, spice up your life. Like, spice up your life. Eat the best meals. Go out to eat. And be kind to workers in restaurants. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reaching the end of the episode. Obviously, I would like to say thank you for my listeners. Thank you for tuning into the podcast over this year. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that the podcast has grown as much as it has. Over this year, like, it used to be at 30, and like there's 82 of you guys now. Like, there's 82 or 80, 82 or 83. I try not to pay attention to the numbers. I really do enjoy it when like people come to me and actually tell me that they really enjoy it. Shout out to Amelia, if you're listening. Like, honestly, it's like I could be like how YouTube does mentions for their listeners. But obviously, like, Amelia, Lulu, like these are people who have really pushed me, I feel. Or like Lulu obviously helped me with my gave me feedback on my episode on Boys Over Flowers. And Amelia, well, Amelia is always an avid listener. So I'm really, really glad that I have people in my corner. And I think over this year it's been really hard to continue to make the pod, really. It's been really hard to continue to make it. I had moments of doubt where I didn't think I was going to carry on making it, but I'm so glad that I'm still in it. You know what I mean? And I like creating this pod, and I only hope that it will continue to grow and more of you will stay for the ride. More of you will stay, more of you will tell me your thoughts, more of you will tell me what you like to hear about. And yeah, thank you so much. And I hope to see you in the new year.